On the momentous occasion of the 75th Constitution Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has delivered a special address wherein he said that the Constitution is not just a mere document but a spirit. The Prime Minister spoke about how human values are at the forefront of the Constitution of India. Meanwhile, parallelly, there is politics that is now prevailing over the judiciary itself. The opposition leaders have demanded a debate on the Constitution in both houses of Parliament, stressing that it was needed in light of the recent developments. Former Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud has weighed in on the matter, making it abundantly clear that the judiciary should not be presumed as a body that will perform the role of the opposition in the Parliament or the state legislative. What do these developments really mean? We take this conversation forward. I have with me on the broadcast several guests who are joining us: Mukesh Tyagi of the BJP, Mumtaz Patel of the Congress, Ashwini Dubey, Supreme Court AOR, and KC Kaushik, former ASG, with us. But let me begin this conversation with Mumtaz Patel. Mumtaz Patel, like I said, I've tried to draw out two very different conversations that have been had today. One by Rahul Gandhi and one by Prime Minister Modi. While Rahul Gandhi is focused on how in the past 10 years all the wealth of India has come to be concentrated in the hands of say 4 to 5% of the population, Prime Minister Modi has refuted those claims, saying that in the past 10 years we were actually busy cleaning up the mess that was created by the Congress governments in the previous years. The fact that crores of people did not have access to even basic necessities. How does the Congress respond to that?
Well, on Constitution Day today, the first thing that I'd like to remind is what the Constitution stands for. For the preamble: justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. And what is happening today, especially in the last 10 years, I mean, we see violence, we see fear, we see intimidation, we see discrimination. That's completely opposite to the basic tenets of the Constitution. I mean, that is the first point that I'd like to make over here. It is the respect to Constitution. Instead of respecting the Constitution, I think this government is completely trampling upon the basic principles of the Constitution.
Okay, can you care to elaborate on that? When you talk about basic principles of the Constitution, how has the BJP not delivered on them?
Okay, let's take the most recent example of what happened in Sambal. I mean, what are your protection against exploitation? You know, promoting harmony and the spirit of brotherhood. If you look at what happened in Sambal in the last couple of days, specifically, and I would like to say this today. In fact, it is awkward for me to say this today because I'm a Muslim, right? But would you discriminate in the same way in a mob incited violence? Would the police open fire on a Hindu mob? Would the police open fire or pick up people especially when there is a violent mob which does not constitute of Muslims? I mean, why specifically target Muslims even if there is a mob? There is widespread discrimination. Why? No provisions for SC, ST, the OBCs. There is definitely discrimination.
But Mumtaz Patel, when you say there are no provisions for the SC, SCs and the OBCs, what does that mean? That's such a far-flung sort of a statement that you're making, that there are no provisions for the SC, STs and the OBCs. I'm going to let Mukesh Tyagi respond to that, but please help us understand, because the Congress seems to be nowadays in a habit of making very sweeping statements.
Good evening, Devika. Good evening, Mumtaz ji. Nice to see you on the panel, and certainly respect your viewpoints. But I think we have to see the entire issue in a holistic sense. What Abraham Lincoln said, that democracy is for the people, by the people, and of the people. I think that philosophy is being preserved. This is the largest democracy in the world. Show me one example where Rahul Gandhi's major election plank was that Constitution of India is being threatened and they will rewrite the Indian Constitution. And based on that, he secured certain numbers, and he was also insisting on the caste census. Now tell me one example where Mr. Modi has discriminated Hindu and Muslims. All the central policies are absolutely inclusive. They are not designed based on what religion, what caste you have. It percolates down to each and every family, irrespective of the family background, the caste background they have. So there is no discrimination at all. And I think Mr. Modi's, if you see that Congress had dismissed 100 times under Article 356 of Indian Constitution, the constitutionally elected governments. And look at the emergency. I think it's the worst mutilation of Indian Constitution, 75-77. You have seen the saga of atrocities, the vasectomies, suspension of fundamental rights, maintenance of Internal Security Act. People were put behind the bar. On what ground? Because Mrs. Gandhi was sentenced and qualified for 6 years by the court because there were election irregularities. And when Rajnath petitioned that, so Mrs. Gandhi imposed emergency in India to take over the control, the lust for power. So is it 1984 riots? Look at the frequency of the riots which happened. Look at the way Congress people have coined slogans against Hindu terror, saffron terror. I mean, all these kinds of things have been, even in 2611, there is RSS involvement into this. I mean, so this kind of statement which Congress has been making, and recently Rahul Gandhi has been circulating empty book of Indian Constitution. So now he's challenging that Mr. Modi has not read Indian Constitution. I mean, it's not a question of reading or not reading. He's not a lawyer. But is he not implementing the true spirit of Indian Constitution? That is the point in question. And I see no reason. Mr. Modi, I think, has confirmed to the highest standards of the constitutional framework. I do not see even a single instance where Mr. Modi has been directly or indirectly instrumental in contributing to the violation of Indian Constitution. He has respected judiciary. Rahul Gandhi is saying that I have taken on the responsibility as a judiciary, I have taken responsibility as a media, I have taken responsibility. So he's literally very comprehensively representing all the institution. During his time only it was said that CBI is a part of the golden cage. So, you know, with the 9 mega scam in 10 years, obviously there was a huge economic debacle which was inherited in 2014 by Prime Minister Modi. And there were 2 years of COVID, which you can imagine. Despite that, we are the 5th largest economy in the world. We will be soon the 3rd largest economy in the world. We have, I think, taken out a very large chunk of people from the multi-dimensional poverty. So, you know, these kind of things, and still you note, and the problem with the Congress is that they don't have any concrete allegation against which they can substantiate. They just talk in the thin air, they can't prove it. Look at the rappel where Rahul Gandhi went to Supreme Court and offered the unconditional apology. Tell me which slogan of Rahul Gandhi they could establish themselves. On Hindenburg, on Adani, it is only the foreign agencies which have exposed to some level. God knows what is the design behind it. But no independent investigation is done by Congress. No independent scoop has been done by Congress. So now you start talking about that Modi ji is setting. Where is the threat to the
all right. Okay, Mukesh Tyagi, I'm going to let Mumtaz Patel respond to that.
Okay, so you spoke about the emergency. Why does the BJP keep going back to the emergency? Even after the emergency, free and fair elections were called for. Indira Gandhi lost the election and then came back with a big bang a few years later. And when you talk about the constitution, yes, it's very easy to say all this on paper, but what do you see on the ground? You know, that's why I spoke about discrimination, I spoke about intimidation, and where is the independent judiciary? Where is free and fair election? You speak about.
But Mumtaz Patel, are you saying that the elections in Jharkhand were not free and fair? Was the election in Jharkhand free and fair, ma'am? Is the Congress party really questioning the independence of the...
I can't hear you.
So the Congress party today is questioning the independence of the judiciary as well? And were the elections in Jharkhand free and fair?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. It is all, I mean, today if I start...
No, I want to understand, when you say that there are no free and fair elections, what does that mean? Because literally your party has won in Jharkhand. If the BJP was involved in some sort of an election scam, would they not just be winning election after election? That's not the case.
You know, if you look at the pattern, I pointed it out on the day of the results also. When we saw Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh going to the BJP, Himachal went to the Congress, okay? When we see Maharashtra going to the BJP, Jharkhand comes to the JMM Congress alliance. Now that is why exactly what happens when we question on free and fair elections, this is the answer to it, that what happened. So this is also my individual observation. This is also planned strategy. Make it easy so that you will not question.
Planned strategy for the BJP to keep giving you, if
there
are 4 elections, the planned strategy of the BJP is let the others win one and we'll keep the rest, so that it does, so that it looks fair. That's the planned strategy. Okay. Amazing.
Absolutely. You can't raise your voice, then you can't question the EVM, you can't question
Ma'am, you're free to question the EVM, but what is the point of questioning the EVM? What is the point of questioning the EVM when the courts also don't want to hear about it? The courts have said, where is the EVM? Where is the evidence of
independent judiciary?
So the judiciary is also okay. KC Kaushik, I want to bring you into the conversation. KC Kaushik, very interesting narrative being spun in India today, where we're now being told that we must question the independence of the judiciary as well. What do you make of it, sir, as former ASG?
According to me, we should not have the doubt as the independence of judiciary is concerned. But if there is a delay of some political issues decision, we can finger on that issue. But as far by and large, the judiciary is independent across the country. I'm the firm opinion. So if somebody is saying that judiciary is not independent, I do not subscribe to that view. If somebody is linking Mr. Modi has visited the residence of former CJI, so that could be termed somewhere either this way or that way, but we should not go then that issue at all, because as far as judges are concerned, judges are meeting to the political person. There is no harm to meet them until unless that give the reflection in their judgments, according to me.
Okay, I want to bring in Ashwini Dubey as well. Ashwini Dubey, is there somewhere a worry also about the conversations we're having to have about the independence of several institutions? Earlier it was the CBI and the ED, then it eventually became the Election Commission. The media, of course, continues to be painted in the worst light possible, and now we're questioning the independence of the judiciary as well. Where exactly are we headed?
Devika, first, today let's celebrate the 75th year of the Constitution. My best wishes to my fellow panelists and to you, Devika. We live in a country where a rule of law, justice delivery system is supreme. There is no law of ruler, but of course rule of law. Devika, it has become a fashion to target an independent, unbiased, transparent Supreme Court and High Courts. When judgment is in your favor, you say ki nyay ki jeet. When judgment is against, then you say judiciary decay. Devika, we live in a country where freedom of speech and expression has been given quite often. Mumtaz also exploring that. I am also exploring Kaushik ji also and Mukesh ji also. But there is certain reasonable restriction where we should not speak when there is no concrete backed data behind that statement. Devika, recent conversation was going about this Sambhal. Let me, as a citizen of this country, speak that apart from fundamental rights, there are fundamental duties that you will not touch the police vehicles. You will not throw stones on the police personnel. When there is a court order, everyone will abide by that. That this court order, and unless there is a revisional process, judicial review, there is a remedy to challenge that order. And if that order is being complied by the courts, by court's order, then there people should not come having the deadly weapons, having the stones, and should not pelt at the security agencies. So what security agencies are concerned, that should not be the matter of discussion here, and it should not be glamorized. The glorification should not be to offense where 9, 10 dozens of people, the police personnel have been injured. Now, yesterday judgment is a significant judgment which will throw a light to my co-panelist Mumtaz ji also and others. What the Supreme Court said. Supreme Court said that this word socialist is existing in this country from centuries back. It should not be read in consonant with the foreign definition. And Supreme Court said the word secular, which was brought by 42nd Amendment, that has become the part of the basic constitutional structure. That suits to Mumtazji. Then why to target the law, courts, and then under the guard of the Constitution? India's commitment to rule of law is grounded in the Constitution, which establishes that India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic with a parliamentary form of government. The Constitution is supreme legal authority, which binds the legislative, executive and judicial organs of the government. And Devika, I am very sorry, but there is no embargo in the Constitution that two constitutional heads cannot meet. Where is the restriction in the Constitution that Prime Minister cannot meet?
There can't be any, because at the end of the day, everyone's a part of a larger society. It's not as though if you're a judge for your entire term, you'll be locked up in your house and you can't meet anyone and you can't read anyone. That's just not possible. But Mumtaz Patel, now that you've heard what the legal experts have also had to say, I just want you to help understand, why is it that the Congress party feels that it's performing now the duties of the judiciary as well in India? What is it that the Congress party is doing which it feels is actually the role of the judiciary?
You know, the Constitution was framed with a lot of deep thought. I mean, and exactly what Ashwini spoke, that the spirit of the Constitution to protect all, there's equality before law, there's freedom of speech, expression, you know, there's protection, like I said in the beginning, against exploitation, independent judiciary. I come back to it again. I mean, there's so many tenets to the Constitution. Now, yes, we know that it is, today we are talking about the Constitution because we want to preserve and protect this Constitution, which is applicable to all citizens of the country. But the question is that in practical sense, is it being applied on the ground by this government? No, it's not just about the Congress calling it foul. We can see that ask the people affected by the discrimination. That's the first thing. Today, I spoke about this. Immediately, I was told that you cannot do this with the police personnel. Yes, I agree. But would the police personnel shoot at sight if these people were not Muslims? I mean, there was a clothes seller who went to pick up his shipment. There was a mithai seller. There was a 17-year-old plastic seller. You drag people out of their homes. You shoot them while their families are requesting you not to. Is this the way? Now, what are the mothers asking? They're asking for the bodies of their children back. Is that not a provision in the Constitution? Is this how you promote equality? I'm coming back to the most recent example on the ground. Even the Supreme Court, let's say independent judiciary, they spoke about how discriminatory the bulldozers are. They target specific.
Right, but my larger point being that when the judgment suits you, then you're okay with the judiciary. When it doesn't suit you, then you want to question the independence of the judiciary. Mukesh Tyagi, but how do you respond to that? That there is a larger, that the social fabric has been tarnished, which is what the Congress party says and continues to maintain.
You see, I personally feel that Modi government is one of the best champions ever in the history of the country. When Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had resigned from Congress on Hindu Code Bill, who was basically chairman of the drafting committee. So there was appeasement politics, which was ushered through even 42nd Amendment in 1976, which was almost coined as a mini constitution. Then Amendment number 1, which was on the freedom of press, how the restrictions were invented. So there is a history and there is a legacy how these certain appeasement politics was ingrained in the Constitution of India, including Article 370, which was a temporary provision, but with a complete collusion with the Congress, that article remained almost a permanent article on Indian Constitution. So when there was a hue and cry that Article 370 should be removed, look at the kind of opposition which happened in the country. So what is wrong? I mean, you are depriving the rights of many women who belong to Kashmir. If they get married outside Kashmir, they'll lose the right on inheritance. And Mr. Modi has rationalized on the statute, maybe 1400 laws which were not relevant. So tell me, who is going to get benefit out of it? Now, if you pick up the examples of Sambal and other things, I'm not saying these are 100% foolproof, but you have to see substantial administrative mechanism of BJP, whether there are policies which are discriminatory in nature. Not. Maybe if bulldozer is wrong, then I think actually you are on the contrary, countering that there is independence of judiciary. If judiciary is in our control, then we would have secured the verdict for bulldozer action. We could not. So there have been number of actions which judiciary has upheld against the government also. Whether it's election bond, it's a Sabrimala entry of women, menstruating women. A number of cases legitimizing the bisexuals, LGBT community, decriminalizing number of adultery. So there has been a lot of things where judiciary is holding the fort against the government. So when it suits you, like today, I think one of the Supreme Court judges has said that he rejected that there is a paper ballot for the EVM machine. And he said, when you win the election, you don't find any fault. Do you say that countermand that election in Jharkhand or Himachal Pradesh or Karnataka? But when you lose the election in Haryana and Mumbai, then it is a typical voice of yours that there is a problem with the EVM machine.
Okay.
They held a demonstration in London. Kapil Sibal went personally. I mean, they could not find even a single technical. They have all the might. They have the best technical minds they have. But why they are not able to establish if there is a malfunctioning of EVM machines? So what I'm saying is, Congress is working completely in isolation without any clinching and conclusive evidence, and they try to build such a facade, but actually when it comes on the ground, it falls flat. So then you start talking about independence judiciary. I think this is the worst thing you can talk about judiciary. I think we are very proud of the fact it's unlike Pakistan judiciary. Look at the way Pakistan judiciary is functioning. Bangladesh judiciary is functioning. Indian judiciary, I think, very, very proud of. And I'm very proud of the fact today we are celebrating the Constitution Day.
All right. I've run out of time, but I thank all of our panelists for joining us to take this conversation forward. We leave it there and step into a very short break.